Okay, here we are again, lecture number 8. Last lecture we started to introduce the journal entry, and today we're going to continue talking about journal entries and talk about some new concepts as well. What we did here for the face-to-facers just a minute or so ago is we took a quiz over the account balances. And go ahead and show that on the Elmo if you would. For you folks that are watching this at home, what I would do if I were you is I would simply pause this and get a piece of paper out, and even though I cannot give you the quiz for points, see how you would do if this were a quiz for you. Okay? So just pause it and then push play when you're done taking this. But I want you to list if it's a debit balance account or if it's a credit balance account. And of course, if I say it's a debit balance account, I'm saying it increases with a debit, decreases with a credit. And if I say it's a credit balance account, it increases with a credit and decreases with a debit, right? All right, let's go over the quiz. And you all can keep track of how you did. All right, I'm going to just put debit and credit in the columns, okay, for if it's a debit or credit balance. Consulting revenue is what?
Credit.
Credit balance account. Notes payable?
Credit.
Also a credit. Land is?
Debit.
Debit. Prepaid insurance?
Debit.
Debit. Notes receivable?
Debit.
Another asset, it's a debit. Accounts receivable?
Debit.
Also debit. Accounts payable?
Credit.
Credit. Salary expense?
Credit.
All expenses are debit balance accounts. Unearned revenue is a liability with a what?
Credit.
Credit balance account. Owner's withdrawals, sometimes that one tricks people up.
Debit.
It's a debit balance account. Cash is?
Debit.
Debit. Capital.
Credit.
Inventory
Debit.
is an asset with a debit balance account. What about rent expense?
Credit.
Like I said, all expenses are debit balance accounts. Income tax payable?
Credit.
Credit. Earned revenue?
Credit.
Credit.
Credit. What about prepaid rent?
Debit.
Debit. Wages payable?
Credit.
Credit. Advertising expense? All expenses are?
Debit.
And equipment?
Debit.
Awesome. So there's your answers. Okay? All right. How many people got 18 or more correct? Okay? Did anybody get perfect? All right. Okay. Well, if you got 18 or more, you could take a Hershey's Kiss. Okay? And if you folks at home got 18 or more when you were doing it, if you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, I will put a Hershey's Kiss in it and send it to your house. Okay? All right. I want you to know these. Now, the way that I grade these for you face-to-facers is this quiz, as all quizzes, are worth 10 points. Okay? I take -1 for every one that you missed. Right? Okay? So, if you got, let's say, 14 right, you only got a 4 on the quiz. Okay? Does that make sense? And the reason I do that is because if you just flipped a coin, how many should you have got right on this? Half. You should have got 10, right? So I don't want people getting 14 and thinking, oh, I did pretty good. No, you didn't. You did 4 better than if you flipped a coin, right? So I won't give you a negative score, but you missed 1 point for everyone. So if you got 18 out of 20, you got 8 out of 10. Kara, did you have a question?
So 15 would be 5?
15 would be 5.
Okay.
Okay. 11 would be 1. And 10 would be 0. Okay? Some people think 10 should be 5. 10 means you did as good as the coin flip. Okay? So I want you to really, really know these. Okay? I do these things because I love you. Just remember this. Okay? All right. Know those. Know those well. Okay, we got some homework to go over. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about Homework Connect. Let's go to the screen. And this goes for you folks at home as well as the face-to-facers. Now, I want to call the Connect assignments. I don't want to use the word homework. So the Connect assignments, you should have registered, whether you're a face-to-facer or an at-home person, you should have registered by now for this. And then you get to the point and bookmark this page once you get to it. And log in correctly, as I'm not doing. And then once you've logged in, you're going to see your class, okay? Now again, there's different classes here depending on the semester. Go down to Accounting 1. Let me just click on this one. Of course, yours will be different. And then you get to a point like this, right? Now, I want to point out a couple things to you. Now, right now, this is not fully populated with assignments, right? You're going to see Chapter 1 assignment. And when it is worth points, you see this little icon over here. Looks like a piece of paper, okay? Those are worth points. Those have due dates, okay? You have to do those if you want to get the points, okay? Now, for you face-to-facers, I'm telling you your due dates in class, and I usually do it off camera so I don't foul up the people who are watching this at home. For you people at home, I will be emailing you your Connect assignment due dates, okay? That will be an important email, and it'll say Connect assignment due dates, okay? So, please be following that. Now, this other thing, if you go back to the screen, this thing that looks like a barbell on its side, that is something that you can do if you want to. It's not worth points. It's not required. But it's kind of a walkthrough for practice sort of tool. Has anybody done that by chance? Raise your hand. You have? What'd you guys think that went through it?
It was pretty good.
It's pretty good? Okay. What they do is they're kind of narrated slides, right? And every now and then they'll have something for you to do, like an exercise, and you can get feedback right there. Okay. So this is a great thing. Now, if you're just swimmingly going along in this class doing wonderful, you may not need to do this. But I always say for those people, if you're having a little bit more practice, I would really encourage you to watch these. Okay. Now, it's not worth points. Now, I can tell who's done it. I'm not trying to be big brother here, but if somebody comes into my class and they're flunking the class and they're saying, I'm completely lost, well, I hope I can see that you've gone through those at least, because that's a helpful resource, okay? But the little dumbbell thing is for practice only, and it is not worth points. The other ones are. Keep track of those assignment due dates. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Okay, let's go to our homework. The homework I assigned was this on the screen. Whoops, I need to switch over. This was the homework I assigned. We're going to go through all four of those, but we're not going to go through them in the order that they're listed. The first one I want to go through, I believe, is Quick Study 2.8. So let's go through Quick Study 2.8, all right? Quick Study 2.8. We've had one of these before. We got another one. Indicate the financial statement on which each of the following item appears. Use I for income statement, E for a statement of owner's equity, and B for balance sheet. Okay. Buildings is on what? Balance sheet. Interest expense?
Income statement.
Income statement. Owner's withdrawals?
Owner's equity.
Statement of owner's equity. Office supplies?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Rental revenue?
Income statement.
Income statement. Insurance expense? Income statement. Service revenue?
Income statement.
Income statement. Interest payable?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Accounts receivable?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Salaries expense?
Income statement.
Income statement. Equipment?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Prepaid insurance?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. I promise you'll have one like this on the test, okay? Speaking of the test, we have this lecture, which is lecture number 8, lecture number 9, lecture number 10, and after lecture number 10, that's when you're good to take the test, okay? So I told you all before class when that test is going to be. If you were late, whisper and ask your neighbor, but I don't want to say it over here or to mix up the people at home, okay? So we have this lecture and 2 more, and then we consider ourselves ready to take that test over chapters 1 and 2. Cool? All right. Okay, let's go to, I want to go to exercise 2.4. Exercise 2.4. Okay, for each of the following, identify the type of account as an asset, liability, equity, revenue, or expense, and then identify the normal balance of the account. Enter debit or credit to identify the kind of entry that would increase the account balance. Okay? All right, so this is kind of similar to our quiz that we took. And I'm just going to put the answers up there. I'm not going to read through each one. Okay? Let me just put the answers up there. Okay? Now, right here, they are asking you what the normal balance of the account is, right? And right here, they are asking you, how do you increase that account, correct? Well, the answers for each column are the same, correct? And that's what they're trying to emphasize here. Is when we say something is like fees earned, which is another type of revenue account, when we say that that is a credit normal balance, what we're saying is that is how you increase it with a credit. Okay? So that's what they're just trying to get across here, is that the normal balance of account and how you increase it is just kind of 2 different ways of asking for the same thing. All right? Okay, any questions on that? Any questions? All righty. Okay. I want to show you something here. Okay? I want to show you something here. Okay, let me put this on the screen. Okay? All right, does anybody know what that is? I'll give you an extra Hershey kiss if you do. Does anybody know what that is? Okay. That is the, I have a Bulgarian student, and she wrote the name David for this illustration. I asked her to write my name, my first name, David, in Bulgarian, okay? Now, I'm assuming that's David. Maybe it means jerk or something, and she's at home having a great laugh right now. But I think it means David in Bulgarian, right? Did anybody know that? Now, let me ask you this. If my goal was, by the end of the day, to learn how to write my name in Bulgarian, do you think I could do that? I think I could. I think I could. Go back to it. I mean, I don't know, this looks like what? Looks like a building with a roof on it. That must be the D's. The A is the same. The V just has a little thing here. Looks like a backwards N. That looks like a B, but it must be V, right? Right? It's Bulgarian. I don't know. But if I wanted to, I could memorize how to write this. Is this correct? Would you agree with that? Okay. Now, let's say I did memorize how to write my name in Bulgarian for my wife and children so they could be so proud of me. Okay? And then my wife said, that's cool. Okay, can you write my name and the kids' names in Bulgarian? What do you think? You think I'd be able to do it? No. No, I could not. I would not be able to do it. Okay, why do I say this? I say this because let's go back to making the journal entry that we were talking about. Let's go back to making the journal entry. Okay? It's there at the bottom of your screen. Now it's in the middle of the screen. Okay, that was the journal entry for when we purchase office supplies with cash, correct? Now there will be students who the thought process they have is, I don't really know what he's doing here, but by golly, if that's the journal entry for when you purchase office supplies with cash, I can memorize this, right? And if I asked my 15-year-old to just memorize this, I'm going to say, I want you to memorize this. This is a journal entry for purchasing office supplies with cash. Tomorrow I'm going to ask you to write this down. He could write this down, couldn't he? And there are students who will try to memorize this just like I would memorize that name David in Bulgarian. But what's the problem with that? It doesn't transfer to other things, does it? Right? I can't write other names in Bulgarian, right? Or if someone asks me to write my whole name, all 3 names in Bulgarian, I can't do it. Okay? Well, I don't want you to get by just memorizing these things. I want you to understand what's going on here. I want you to understand that if we purchase office supplies with cash, that cash is going down by $250 and office supplies is going up by $250. Then with your knowledge of debits and credits, I want you to realize that the way you make cash decreases, you credit it. The way you make office supplies increases, you debit it. And then that's what helps you do the journal entry. You can talk through and explain to somebody. You can say, well, we debit office supplies because office supplies is increasing. And it's a debit balance account. That's why we have to debit it. And we credit cash because cash is also a debit balance account. Thus, we want to decrease it. We must credit it. Does that make sense? That's a lot different than just memorizing it, right? I want you to be able to explain it and understand so that you can transfer it to other things. Cool? Now, we also talked last period. Last period was the one where we really started talking about journal entries. We went further, and not only did we show the journal entry, this is called making the journal entry. This is called posting to the T account or to the ledger, correct? Right? Now, remember, differentiate between. This is what it looks like if you're making a journal entry right here. This is what it looks like if you're posted the T account or the ledger. I guarantee you on the test I'm going to ask you to make about 9 or 10 journal entries. Please, please do not have me turn the page and see a lot of T accounts. This is not making the journal entry. You with me? Okay. But this step comes before this step, right? This is our notation to tell us that we have to go to the office supplies T account and debit it for $250. We have to go to the cash T account on the credit side and put $250 in. Credit it for $250. Cool? All right. Let's take a look then at Quick Study 2.6. Quick Study 2.6 asked us to do some journal entries, did it not? Okay. Let's take a look at that. I'm just going to show them all here, and we'll talk through them a little bit. Now, I'm not going to keep doing what I'm going to do right now, but let me get this on here first. But there is an understood debit column and an understood credit column headings right here, right? But I'm not going to keep doing that, all right? But let's take a look at these journal entries. In the first one, the owner invests cash in equipment. So cash and equipment are debited, capital is credited. In the January 21st journal entry, we purchase office supplies on credit, we debit office supplies, and we credit AP, or accounts payable. The third situation on January 25th is we receive cash for services we performed. So we can credit remodeling services revenue. It's okay if you just put revenue, okay? And we debit cash. And on January 30th, we received cash in advance for remodeling services that we're going to perform in the future. We debit cash and we credit unearned remodeling services revenue. If you said just unearned revenue, that's okay. Make sure it says unearned, though. And that's pretty much exactly what your journal entries should look like. You with me?
Do we have to put that owner invest cash in equipment?
No, you don't have to do the descriptions. Okay? You do not have to do the descriptions. But I will tell you one thing I want you to do on the test. And you know, this is all typed up and easy, so it's kind of it's easy to understand. Let me move this up a little bit. Okay, I really want you, when you do these on the test, it's really nice if you like draw a line between these, or at least, oops, I think I just wrote on that. Okay, see how I drew a line between those? Or at least leave some space there. Because some students will just, they'll cram them all together and it looks like a big mess and I can't tell where one journal entry stops and another begins. Okay? So draw a line through those or leave a couple extra blank spaces or something. Make sense? Awesome. Okay, now we had one more and that was exercise 2.7. Is that correct? Exercise 2.7. I will just put those up there for you to look at. Now remember, if you're having trouble with this, what's going to be my advice if you're having trouble with these journal entries? Anybody? My advice is going to be to do it the chapter 1 way first, and then ask yourself, how do you make that account decrease or that account increase? And use that to help you build the journal entry, okay? But let me give you a second to look at these, and then I'll start talking about them.
Do you want us to like indent the credits?
Yes.
I know debits go first, and then you want
Yes.
credits indented.
Debits go first. Debits go first. You are right. But then I want you to, on the accounts being credited, I want you to bump them in a little bit. I want you to credit them. Okay? I want you to bump those in a little bit and credit them. And of course, I want you to list your accounts being debited first and your accounts being credited second. And then of course, your total for the debits has to equal the total of the credits for every journal entry. For every separate journal entry. So does that equal 40,000? Yes. Okay. Kara?
Do you want us to write like the owner investment in business? Do we
No.
have to have that?
You do not have to do this little explanation here.
Okay, and also on our little working papers, it says PR
Yes.
column. What's that?
Well, let me back up a little bit. First of all, that's a good reminder. I hope you're using your working papers, okay? The work papers that you purchased, let me grab a sample one. Can I grab this? Okay. This is Matt's. The working papers, like for instance, this is what he used for exercise 2.4, which we did a little earlier. Those are in the back of your book, right? Okay. And it tells you which one. So use those work papers. PR, Kara, stands for posting reference. And don't worry about that. Just don't even worry about it. Okay. That's in the real world, that's something we use as far as where we go post this, or sometimes we put account numbers in there or something like that. So don't worry about it. Good question though. Thank you for asking that. Okay. Any questions on these journal entries? Okay. Now, after we do these journal entries, and this is called making the journal entries, what would be the next step? Remind me again. I just went through it. Posting to the T accounts, posting to the ledger, okay? And when you post to the T accounts or post to the ledger, you want to go line by line. Go to debit or go to cash and debit it for $7,500. Go to photography equipment and debit it for $32,500. Go to Madison Capital and credit it for $40,000. And somebody might say, well, how else would you do it? Well, some people like try to do all the cashes at once. And then, you know what I'm saying? They jump around. You'll always miss one. You'll always miss one. So just go line by line, okay? So you are right. The next step would be to take these journal entries that we've made and post them to the T accounts, right? And then, of course, we could figure out the ending balance of the T account, correct? Or of the ledger, okay? And that's where I want to transition to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something that is new, that you don't know yet, but that is called the trial balance. Let's get that up on the screen. Now, this is an example of a trial balance. Now, a trial balance is not the same thing as a balance sheet, okay? The trial balance is something that we prepare. It is not part of the financial statements. What we do, though, is we prepare it before we do the financial statements because it helps us prepare the financial statements. You with me? The trial balance is something that we prepare that will help us create the financial statements. And what it does is it lists each account and what the balance is. What the balance is, okay? Now, there is an order that we put things on the trial balance. We put the assets first, then we put the liabilities, then we put the equity accounts, then we put revenue, then we put expense. Okay? There will never, ever, ever, ever be a plus or minus sign in the trial balance. Okay? Whatever balance it has, that's what the column you put it in is. And then the key thing is that the total debits have to equal the total credits. They must. Okay? The total debits have to equal the total credits. All right? But what if they don't equal? What if they don't equal? You did something wrong. Now, when I was first in public accounting back in '92, the first thing I would ask the client for is the trial balance. And a lot of times, they would give me a trial balance that did not balance. The total debits did not equal the total credits. And I would have to give it back to the client and say, I need one that balances. Okay? Now, when I consult, I hardly ever get a trial balance that doesn't balance. What's the change since '92? Did people just get smarter? Why do all my trial balances? They do everything on a computer. And in the old days when we did things by paper like you guys are doing now, people could, and sometimes mistakenly would, make journal entries that didn't balance, where the total debits didn't equal the total credits. Now when you're on a computer, regardless of what accounting software you used, it will not let you enter the journal entry if it does not balance. It'll say no. Now, just because they're trial balance, going back to this trial balance, I told you that if this doesn't balance, it's a guarantee it's wrong. If it does balance, is it a guarantee that everything's right? No, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But you know if these don't balance, it's wrong. Okay? So that is a trial balance. Whoops, sorry. That is a trial balance. That helps us prepare the financial statements. And of course, what order do we prepare the financial statements? The income statement, then the statement of equity, and then the balance sheet. And all the balances you see on here would just be the ending balance at December 31 of 2011, the ending balance of those accounts. Does that make sense? Questions on that? Now, what I want to do now is I want to go back over to exercise 2.7. And we are going to do in class, and for you folks at home, I want you to do it at home, we are going to do exercise 2.8. Well, what does exercise 2.8 tell us? Exercise 2.8 tells us to use the information in exercise 2.7 to prepare an August 31 trial balance for this company. Begin by opening these accounts: cash, office supplies, prepaid insurance, and so on. Then post the general entries to these T accounts, and that will serve as the ledger, and then prepare the trial balance. Are you with me? Now, if you go to exercise 2.8 in your work papers, it should look like this. They've given you the T accounts, right? So use those. It says exercise 2.8 right there. And then they even give you a spot below to do your balance sheet. Now, I'm not going to point that out on every work paper. I'm just trying to get in the habit of looking at your work papers. Okay? So, let's work on exercise 2.8 right now. Open up your T accounts, post the journal entries to the T accounts or to the ledger, and then prepare a trial balance as that snazzy JCCCC music plays. Okay, we are back. If you're not done at home, folks, just pause it, push play when you're done. Now, we started with these journal entries, right, that are shown on the screen. What I want you to do now, as we asked, is what we did is we went down and we went to cash and we debited it for $7,500, went to photography equipment, debited it for $32,500, and so on. We went line by line, right? Well, when you're done with that, what you should have is some T accounts that look like this, okay? Now, what I did was, I had to figure out the ending balance for each account. Now, for most of these counts, it was pretty easy. There was only one journal entry, right? So, yes, office supplies, the ending balance is $1,400. Prepaid insurance, the ending balance is $3,000, and so on. I highlighted in yellow the ending balance. Now, normally, that's not going to be the case. Normally, these are going to have, during a period, multiple journal entries to it, and we're going to have to figure out the ending balance, won't we? Now, you can see I calculated the ending balance of cash. Now, I want to make sure you know how to calculate the ending balance of a T account. All I did here was add the debits, subtract the credits, and that equaled $4,875. So $7,500 plus $2,650 minus $3,000 minus $1,400 minus $875 equals $4,875. And so I put it over here. Does everybody know how to do that? Could cash, now cash is a normal debit balance account. Could it ever be a credit balance? It could. That would be abnormal. But that would be like if you're overdrawn in your cash account, wouldn't it? If that were the case, you would have the number written over here, and you would put that number in the credit column on a trial balance. But that's not going to normally be the case. We have a normal debit balance in this case of $4,875. Well, what you do with these ending balances then is you put them in your trial balance. Pose for pics, trial balance. This is not a financial statement. It's what we're preparing to help us do the financial statement. Put your date. We list our assets. I don't think we had any liabilities this time, but they would have gone there. We had capital or equity accounts, revenues, expenses. This is a very simplified one, right? Never any plus or minus signs in here. Don't put plus or minuses because they're all going to be plus. And then, of course, we add our total debits, we add our total credits, and those numbers better be equal, correct? Oh, I don't really care.
Okay.
I don't care about the dollar signs. But put these in the debit column, put these in the credit column. But what I was saying about cash, if you were overdrawn, let's say you were overdrawn by $100 in your cash account. So it had a credit balance, an abnormal credit balance. You would put 100 right here. You wouldn't put negative 100 here. You'd put positive 100 here. There's no minus signs on here. But in this example, that's what that looks like. Kara?
What order do you put them in again? Assets?
Assets, liabilities, equity, revenues, expenses. Okay? Now, I want to make sure that you all know how to figure out the ending balance of your T accounts. Okay? Is there any questions about that?
If it's a normal credit balance account, then would you add up the credits and subtract
Yes,
the debits
that's
from
great.
it?
Thank you for asking that. What Allie asked is if it's a credit balance account, do you add the credits and subtract the debits? Yes. Thank you. And if it was a debit balance account, you'd add up the debits, subtract out the credits. Very good. Let me give you your homework. And here's the homework I want you to do. Marlon, did you get one of these? Okay. Okay, copy that homework down real quick. Exercise 2.9, exercise 2.10, and you also say, don't leave yet, I want you to do the T account handout, and that looks like this. Did everybody here get one of those? For you folks at home, you should have that as well. Look in your lessons tab. under the handouts for Chapter 2. But this will give you some practice in figuring out the ending balance of T accounts. So I want you to do this handout for next period and do that exercise 2.9 and exercise 2.10. Are we all good to go? Start studying for that test. All right? We'll see you next time.